Okay, gonna give this a try showing you how I press and mount this. So this is a portrait I just finished last night. This is one of my multi-generationals. I tend to layer them like so, just to fit them more in like a family instead of lining up like classroom photo. Anyway, I always mount on the Needle Art thin boards, as you can see here. I don't like the foam boards because you don't always know what kind of frame that the client or the gift recipient is going to put them in. And sometimes even just with the amount of stitching that you do in the back, it just makes it puffy enough on the board that having anything extra with the foam is just going to be too much. This is a 5x7. I can only seem to find these at Joann's Fabric. And so whenever I'm there and they have some, I buy them out because then they don't order more until their totals are zero, as I've been informed. So I always make sure that I keep my fabric a little bit bigger so that I have a little bit of room to work with in case it does start to ravel, because I don't use hoops. I have found that I stitch too quickly and that the hoops often leave divots that I don't like, and sometimes they even have left dirt rings, even if it was a piece that I was doing for maybe a bride and a groom. I found that I had hand marks and I wash my hands thoroughly all the time. So even though I was taught by my mother to use hoops, I don't anymore, at least not for pieces like this. All right, so, I mean, really quickly here, like I said, I finished it last night. I think I finished right around 2 a.m. So I'm just gonna go through here real fast and clip these last little strings because they tend to ball up and show up on the other side. And looks like other than that, you can just kind of see them through the piece if you're not careful. So I try to always get the extras. I tend to clip and restart them word for word so that I don't have the fabric stretching. I try not to have fabric stretching or thread stretching too much between pieces. And my mother always taught me to have as neat of a back as you possibly can. Of course, when you're doing things like lines or any kind of stitching, of course, your back always looks like a hot mess when you're done. So there we go. I did alter the font a little bit. I made the F's taller, and I'm still like, next time I'm gonna have to move that F one more over like I did with the E here, but just gotta roll with it for now. So then I'm gonna go through and I figure out how many I have on each one. I did, let's see here. So try to get a feel for it. You can kind of see here. It's going to be a close piece because there were a number of people. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so the 9th square here on this side, and then over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's often common, so I'll probably take it down to 9 on this side as well, because once I get the fabric stretched across the board, it'll fit. And from the top here, which they are the tallest, 1, 2, 3, 12. 6, 7, 8, 9. So obviously sorry for my 1-year-old in the background. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So now I have the closest count you can get, and I was always taught years ago when I did calligraphy that you always leave. The eye plays a trick, so you always leave the bottom a little bit shorter than the top. I don't. It's an optical illusion, but if you make the bottom a little bit shorter than the rest of it, it does somehow your eye balances it out. So then I just take my shears, trim it up. like I said, I generally stretch it pretty tight on the fabric, so if I have a little bit extra, make it work. So, I have been cross stitching since I was probably 7 or 8 years old. My mother did it, and then when I was in college, I lived with my mom's cousin, and here I was a freshman in college, and most evenings I was sitting at home with her doing needlework and embroidery. So I have steered away from it. I taught myself how to knit for a while, but then I came back to cross stitching when I kept seeing the Stitch People books advertised on Pinterest, and yeah, I knew before I even started doing them that this was something I could definitely see myself doing as a side hustle while I stayed at home with the boys. People ask, you know, when I find the time to do it. I do it when I'm watching TV at night. I have found a way to monetize my TV time, is what I tell them. So I am a big TV fan, but with 2 small children, I don't get to do it as much as I would like. So there we go. So now we have it where I can stretch it out nice and even. So now I'm going to get my handy dandy and press it. Keep my scrap pile going over here. I was also taught when you were, you know, that you always initial and date your work, which I understand and I have always done in the past. But when it comes to these, especially when someone is paying me to do them as a gift to someone else in their family, you know, having my initials in the date, I don't really care for that. So I found another way to do it a little bit more discreetly, where if somebody is that curious, they can. There we go. Just, you know, I have found that with the not using a hoop, I don't generally need to press it as much. So then I just kind of line it up, one side or the other. And then, you know, it's fabric. And I found whether it's fabric that I've purchased from a store or from an online store. I mean, one of my favorite pieces that I've been using, I still have pieces from it, was this huge piece that my mother found at a garage sale. I don't know what it originally was for, but it was massive. It was this really pretty oatmeal, and I am still using pieces of it today for various different projects that people have had me do. I've done a lot of weddings. I've done a lot of multi-generationals. My mother is my best client. My sister-in-law is my second best client, but I have had a lot of friends contact me for gifts for their mother-in-laws, family members. I did 2 very large pieces last Christmas time for friends. Both her family and her husband's family are quite large. Each one was 16 or 17 people. So I just try to get that pulled there. And then I go through and I press it down. As much as I can. I'm trying to be very careful. I have one of those shiny synthetic threads there on as a necklace, so I gotta kind of be careful of that. And then I will quickly go over everything but Mary Lou's necklace right there. So, as you can see, right there, this is what I'm talking about. There we go, right there. How that's the black thread underneath, and it was just a little bit of a tail somewhere that somehow is peeking through the fabric. And I used to have a lot more of those throughout the entire outfit, and I hated that. So now, after I've pressed that down, I take this boning tool. I found this at Michael's in the Martha Stewart stationery section. and it's good for folding cards and stuff. And I just kind of go through and I kind of get in between. I find that it just kind of helps to make everyone pop a little bit better if there is something that is actually really securely. Because yeah, I tried in the past with just the iron itself, and I just found that, especially right there where I couldn't go over it with the iron. And just kind of making sure that you get all that as close as you can. This is a retirement gift for one of my mother's friends. So, so, ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. And so now, last thing I'm gonna do, after it's all nice and pressed and everything, is then I take it over. And I had of course you can't see here, I had a custom stamp made. My company is Little Thistles Stitches, Cross Stitch. And so I had a girl that I found on Instagram, her Etsy is Create-A-Tate, and she does hand-done stamps. And I bought one of these VersaFine. This is like an $11 stamp pad. And I just go ahead and I stamp the back. Kind of up a little bit. I put it down here at the bottom just so I always knew that this was the bottom. Up. I have found, oh, that's not a bad one. I have found that with this particular cardboard, sometimes you do get a little bit of this waffling. I thought it was the pad, I thought it was the stamp. I've tried on different things. It turns out perfect. It's just the cardboard, but how many people really look at that anyway? So then I go ahead and I sign and date it, put down here too. And then, last but not least, if I'm transporting it or if I'm shipping it, I take the same little plastic sleeve that the board originally came in, and I slip the piece into it, so that way it's a little bit more protected. And it just looks a little bit more professional, like I didn't just, you know, put this together in my kitchen. So that is how I do it. That is how I mount my boards, and then they fit nicely into frames. Hold on one sec. And as you can see here, here is my personal family one that I did in a frame 5x7. Just makes it very easy. I did go up and I did a couple pieces on a 9x12, which I then found 9x12s are not easy frame sizes to find. I feel really bad about that, and I'm going to try to avoid those from now on. But there you go. This is how Little Thistles by Betsy Weiniger mounts and presses and presents her pieces. Thanks for watching.